got a preview.
What's going on, YouTube? This is Just My Opinion, and today I will be reviewing J. Cole's new album, For Your Eyez Only. And joining me today is my guest, Uzzy. What's going on, Uzzy?
What's up, guys?
He's a producer and rapper from North Carolina who came out and basically exploded back in 2009 with a couple of mixtapes and EPs when he was signed to Roc Nation, Jay-Z. He was, I think, was he like the first artist that Jay-Z ever signed to his label? Or?
I think he signed Rihanna first.
Okay.
But the hip hop artist.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So, and then basically ever since the Sideline story came out back in 2011, that's when he's basically been one of the biggest mainstream guys in hip hop since then. Wanted to have him come on with me because I know that he's been he's not only been a Jay-Z fan for a while, but he's also been a J. Cole fan. I know J. Cole signed to Roc Nation, so I'll let you take it away and start off. What you think of the album?
You know, I think as an artist, he put out the work that he wanted to put out. And as a fan, I really like the album. The way it's set up, it's a book. You know, you got the chapter 1, you got chapter 2, you got chapter 3. You know, it has 10 chapters, and I think it pretty much tells a story about his life since his last album dropped. And like in between, he had no feature. He didn't drop a song.
Yeah,
I mean, he did a lot of tour. Like he was on tour the whole time. You know, I saw him at PNC Center, and one of the best concerts ever. You know, I have to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like his story about his life, where he at in his life right now. With him having a child, him, marrying his girlfriend from college and being with her and supporting her and wanting to be there for her. One thing that I really respect about J. Cole is that he's very private. Like when he's only
I do agree with that.
He's only in the media when he's dropping an album, and after he drops an album, he's gone. Like it just there's no in between. He goes away, he takes care of his family, his mom, his dad, his stepdad, and now he's taking care of his wife and his daughter.
I like the direction that he took with this too. I do definitely agree with you where I think that a lot of other artists now, we're starting to see basically not really putting out a lot of music that is just strictly for the radio, and they're basically putting out the music that they want to make. And I think that with this album, he certainly put out the album that he wanted to make.
Exactly. He did, and it's very hard for an artist to do that because, the industry that we're at, I mean, obviously they're in there to make their money, and an artist to drop an album without a radio hit and have the 2 singles that he did release before the album drop, and they're not even on the album.
They didn't even make it. I mean... Yeah, I mean, because I actually really like both of those too. Except, I mean, in the context of the album, though, I could totally understand why they didn't make it, because as far as the story he was trying to tell with this one, they just didn't really fit. But I did really like both of those tracks, though. I thought they were both really good. All right, so as far as for me, I don't know if I could consider myself as big of a J. Cole fan as you, but I know that I certainly do like him. I think the thing with him that I didn't really understand at first about him is, I guess, just his whole appeal, because although I thought that he was a great artist, or like he was a pretty talented artist, I never saw him as being like a superstar like everybody else was kind of making him out to be. And I think the main reason for that, which I kind of finally realized now, is because, I mean, he is creative, but I wouldn't say he's in the same creative space or level as like a Kanye or a Drake. And he's also a very good storyteller and lyricist, but I wouldn't consider him like in the same realm as like a Kendrick Lamar or Eminem as far as a lyricist or storyteller. But I think what he does do is he combines all those elements together, and he's very relatable. He's very introspective, and he basically every time I hear him rap, he kind of has this hunger to him where it sounds like he always has something to prove to everybody. Yeah, so in the end, I thought that the album was one of the better albums that I've heard from him so far. The first song on the album is For Whom the Bell Tolls, and it has a very jazzy type intro to it. It kind of reminds me similar of the intro that he had on his last album, where it was just basically him singing. As far as his singing voice goes, the thing that I like about the thing that I like about him is that, I mean, he doesn't necessarily have the greatest singing voice at times, but I think that as far as his singing voice goes, you definitely get uh, passion out of his voice, even if it's not like the best singing voice. I don't know if you agree
No,
with me on that.
I agree with you.
I think in this song, he's kind of singing from the perspective of his friend, kind of talking about how like there's this darkness around him, and he feels like it's about to be his time. Like his time is, is almost up. Like I think he kind of gets that sense to him, and he realizes that.
I think he's just generally speaking of, if you look around what happening in the world currently, with all the, people getting killed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think he was just generally speaking because he's at the point of his age where, he's, this is his time. Like, it's just like, if he could get past his next 2 or 3, 4 years in his life, he's going to have a good, a good life ahead of him.
All right, so the next song was Immortal, which the production kind of had a little bit more of a trap style production to it, and it paints a very good picture. This is him basically rapping from his friend's perspective about how he sold drugs and kind of just like his everyday life of dealing drugs. I liked how he basically on the last verse was talking about how blacks in general are kind of shackled as far as to become successful as a black man in America. You either have to be a drug dealer, a rapper, or a basketball player, which I thought was pretty interesting. So the next song after Immortal was Deja Vu. It had some nice trap beat to it. I don't know if you caught this too, but he used the same sample that was on Bryson Tiller's song,
Yep.
Exchange. I actually like this version better, so
he put his twist on it,
This was one of the few songs too I actually can see from the album actually getting decent radio play as well.
Exactly, that's what I thought too. But I could bump it to at a party.
This is basically about I'm assuming to be his wife now. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, but how he basically first met her and I guess he mustered up the balls at the bar to go and talk to her, and even though she had a man at that point too, but it was kind of like a love at first sight type thing.
He learned that from me.
The next song is Ville Mentality, which I like. I love the production on it. It's very nice and jazzy. I didn't realize that was him singing the chorus. I actually thought that was like an added singer that he used, but I mean the singing on it was great. I basically see this song. He's kind of in the mentality where he's trying to escape the Ville, which I guess is where he's from, Fayetteville in North Carolina. And another part of the song that I actually liked too was he had vocal snippets of what I'm assuming is also his friend's daughter, because I don't know if you caught that either. Yeah,
where talking about how like her dad died when she was young.
Yeah, because somebody like ratted him out or whatever, and I actually thought that was a really nice twist that he put in on the track as well. So the next song after that is She's Mine Part 1, which in this one it has just very laid back, mellow production, and he's basically talking about falling in love with his girl. And I love kind of the angle he took at it as far as production-wise and singing on it. It basically sounds like he's kind of like floating on cloud nine, like I'm in love type thing. And
he's trying. He's in the song. When I heard it, I was like, okay, he's talking about how he fell in love with his girlfriend over time, and now that he's really in love with her, that he's not looking to get out and like trying to get with somebody else. She's there to support him when he's comes back from a tour. Because I guess as a rapper, you have choices out there, and he settled down and he thinks she's the right person. And I mean, if you hear the song, I mean, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I actually kind of like too in the song too, because it definitely showed his vulnerable side, but it kind of showed too where he was at first kind of scared to show his vulnerability to her.
He's being a real man.
Yeah,
being a real man.
All right, so the next song after that was Change, which I liked the production again on it. It had a nice smooth boom bap type beat on it, And I like the hook on it as well. Basically, I like the message behind it, saying how really the true change comes from inside you. No matter how much you want things to change, sometimes you just have to make the change yourself. And then ultimately, towards the end of the song, J. Cole talks about how he found out about his friend dying on the news, which I thought was a very interesting story as far as the way he told it. All right, so the next song after that was Neighbors, which I think is my favorite song on the entire album. It's the instrumental, there's nothing too crazy about it. I like the reversed kind of the reverse synths or whatever he was using for it, and I like the birds chirping in the background too on it. No, because it gives like that suburban feel to it that he was going for.
There was actually an article that was explaining the song. So he rented a house while he was doing this album, and somewhere in like South North Carolina.
Yeah.
And just to have his own space and just have private time with him and his friends, and just so he could do this album. And he rented a house, and as we hear in the song, him talking about like his friends were smoking cigars filled with weed in the background. So the neighbors think, okay, what is this people doing here in this neighborhood? They don't belong here. They're selling weed. Like how can they afford to live here?
Yeah.
And they were all on tour, and his engineer was the only one home, and he actually had left like an hour before they raided the house.
Oh wow!
To get lunch, and he comes back, and there's a DEA outside, like with the door busted open.
Wow, I didn't hear that story.
Yeah, I just actually read an article today.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they didn't find anything in the house, like there was no weed, no anything. They went to the basement. There was a studio down there, and their DEA is looking all stupid now.
So after we get Neighbors, we get the song Folding Clothes, and I did like the song instrumentally. I like the guitars and the bass that he used on it. And this song is literally about him doing some laundry for his girl, and I guess basically, I guess I could see the relatability of this. He's trying to say, like she's making him a better man or whatever, but
I mean, it's also the fact that she just gave birth, and she can't, she's got to take care of the baby, and she can't be doing the housework. Any man that out there knows. When you got a girlfriend or a wife, you gotta fucking keep moving. You gotta do pretty much everything that you possibly can around the house to help out. And, that's what he's talking about. I never heard a song like this. Somebody, a rapper talking about
the thing,
for like talking about their wife that, they want to do something for her. They want to fold clothes. Like, we all, talk about doing laundry, but he's actually doing it for her,
See, the thing is, I guess I just wasn't expecting J. Cole to be the one to make a song like this, though. Because, like, I found it, like, kind of, in a way, a little bit corny. But, like, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. But, I don't know, like, to me, I could picture like a Macklemore making a song like this, maybe. But, like, I didn't see J. Cole making a song like this.
Not many rappers would take that risk of making a song like this and put it on an album.
So the second to last song is She's Mine Part 2, which is basically the same instrumental and the same chorus as the first She's Mine, but now in this one he's basically talking about, instead of his wife, he's talking about his daughter, which I thought was really interesting, the way that he pieced those two songs together. And this is one of the most touching songs I think I've heard from him ever. And the last song on the album was the self-titled For Your Eyes Only, the title track. And this song, basically, it's an 8-minute long track, but he compacts a lot into this song, and it really ties the entire album together. It kind of reminds me of the song Sing About Me by Kendrick Lamar. I don't know if you remember that song, where it basically, because in that song he was talking about his friend who died, and kind of how he telling his story for him. And this is kind of the same thing for J. Cole, where he's basically telling his friend James's story, who died, to James's daughter, where he basically talked about his drug dealing life and everything like that, and how he went to jail, and after his imprisonment, life wasn't able to be the same. He wasn't able to have a normal life after that because he was stereotyped after that, and he knew that he would probably have to go back to the streets, and he knew that his time probably wouldn't be much longer. So if it was, for whatever reason that he did wind up dying, to let his daughter know his story.
You know, like he wanted to tell, you know, he wanted to tell somebody who could tell his daughter that he loved her, you know.
Yeah.
And he's not there for her now, but, you know, even though he's not, but he loved her while he was here, you know. And
yeah.
That's a, you know, a thing that people have to deal with, you know, life, you know, some of us are here, some of us, you know, are not, you know, people die, it's part of life, you know, it's a cycle that, you know, cycle of life. I felt like a lot of emotions in that song. It was just like, you know, it was just like, okay, I just got a daughter, and you know, now I'm telling a story about my friend's daughter, and like he's not here. Like he doesn't want to be that person, you know. He wanted to be, to be there to, you know, raise his daughter and like, you know, go through the life and, you know, let her, you know, let him see. He wants to see like when she graduates, you know, middle school, high school, college, and like on and on and on. And, you know, he wants to see all of that. And that's why I felt like there was a lot of emotions when he, in the song. It's 8 minutes long, but, you know, it doesn't feel like it's 8 minutes because he's just going on and telling the story. Like it's like an end of a chapter or movie or an end of a book where he's just closing everything out. Like, you know, telling us why, you know, the first couple of songs, that was about, this is about, and now he's just putting a closure on everything. And I think, you know, it's a great song.
So, in conclusion, as far as for me, this is one of the J. Cole albums that I rank amongst some of my favorite projects from him. It was a short album. It was only 10 tracks, but he does pack a lot in it. And once I was able to decipher everything from it, I think that it made me appreciate the project more. Even though some of the songs on it, like I don't see myself revisiting a lot of them too much. I do think that overall as a project, this was definitely a great project for him, and it definitely is one of his most cohesive projects that he put out to date as well. If I'm going to rate the album out of 10, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10.
I rated it a 10, you know. I think it's his better work, you know, as an artist. Like I said before, it takes courage. It takes, you know, it takes cojones to do an album like this, and he did it, and I respect him for that. And I give him, you know, I give him a 10 on for the review, and I'll be listening to the album. You catch me driving by your neighborhood, I'll be bumping J. Cool.
All right, so that was Uzzy, and this is Just My Opinion, and thank you for watching YouTube.